And three, two, one. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, and welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys growing on you live. Episode 14 already. 1-4. Absolutely wild. Yesterday we had Armand Majidi of Sick of It All. Today we have a very cool special guy. He is just now joining. Let's see. We get him connected here. Tom!
Hey,
What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me all right?
I can, yeah, I can. Very, very good. Everything's
Cool.
all settled. Sorry it was a little bit late here. I'm doing a whole lot of running around unexpectedly today.
Oh no, you're good, man.
Sick. Everything going well. You're in Jersey, right?
I'm from Jersey originally, but I live in North Carolina now.
Oh, do you? Okay. How's everything
Yeah,
over that way?
going
Cleared
good.
up?
Going good. No, I think we're actually about to hit like a second wave of the pandemic related stuff. Because nobody here wants to wear a fucking mask, but I mean, I personally am doing fine.
Yeah, touche. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's they've started opening up stuff. Just yesterday, I got confirmation that we're playing a festival like July 10th. So
All right.
very, yeah, and I don't know the details as far as like if they're doing tickets or so. It's gonna be kind of weird. So trying to
Yeah.
play it by ear and keep my mask on, and I'll probably have on gloves drumming and see how that works.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
So if you're just joining, we have the one and only Tom Smith from the Acacia Strain, aka half of the Hallway Boys, my understanding, aka not Tom Smith Jr., aka Little Tommy. Am I missing any, man?
The Hammer, some people call me for some reason.
Okay, all
Uh,
right.
that's about it.
Okay. Okay. I'm loving your podcast, dude. It's so sick. I absolutely love the behind the scenes hearing just different things as far as stories with people writing and their techniques and the hallway story with old Will Putney.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So, if you haven't seen the show before, basically we're going to do a couple icebreaker questions, just something kind of fun, and then we're going to go a little bit deeper into, you and your craft and individualized questions. And then to end it off, I do have a special segment just for you, my dude. So if you're ready, we're going to start digging right on in.
I'm good to rip. I'm hanging.
Sweet. All right, so first off, name 3 of your favorite bands that you've discovered while on the road.
Oh, that I've discovered while on the road. That's tough. I don't know. I tend to listen to a lot of the bands that we tour with. I don't know if there's many. Oh, Remain and Sustain out of Colorado. They are a band that
Okay.
like I'd never heard of. They opened up one of our shows, and I was like, "Holy shit, this band is awesome!" And they're some good friends of mine now too. But yeah, that band,
Okay.
I can't speak enough good things about them. I mean, this is kind of like I didn't really discover them on the road, but I had never really listened to them until we toured with them, Left Behind, and they are some of my best friends on the planet. Like I filled in playing guitar with them on a tour before, and that was super sick. And then who else? I'm trying to think of like bands that I had never heard of before.
Or even just a favorite band that you're really ripping on lately.
Yeah, I mean, like Chamber always. We
Oh, yeah.
played a show in California with that band Dare, and they are super sick. They were a
Oh,
band that like I knew of before we were on the tour, but I didn't really know anything about them. So Dare is fucking awesome. They like blew me
mhm.
away when I watched them. And then I mean,
They
like
bring all the energy.
Judiciary, yeah. But then like Judiciary,
Mhm.
Chamber, Higher Power, like pretty much we've gotten really lucky that we've liked almost every single band that we tour with, like as far as
Mhm.
their music goes. Like there's some tours where like we're maybe not huge fans of bands, but we generally tour with bands that we like only. So it's pretty easy
Yeah.
that way.
Sure. Okay, that's sweet. You mentioned Higher Power, and actually, I really liked that band until I saw them with you guys last
Mhm.
time on the Knock Loose tour, and I love them. And that new record is so
Yeah,
sweet.
dude, that's the same as me. Like I just kind of knew who they were. I had like jammed a couple songs. I was like, oh, this band's cool. Like wasn't I wasn't like deeply invested in them until we toured with
Hmm.
them, and I was like, holy shit! And they're all such sick dudes. So it was just like they're just a band that's sick, and they should get some recognition. You know, they're an awesome band.
If you could start a dream side project, not that I want you to leave the Acacia Strain by any means, but if you could start a dream side project with 4 other people, dead or alive, who would you get in a band?
So I've kind of got a little bit of that dream side project in the works right now. As far as like living guys, I've got it's me, Zach from Left Behind, Griffin, our bass player, and then Mike and Taylor from Chamber, and we're starting just like a studio project, like gonna write probably an EP, put that out. And as far as like current musicians, like in our kind of realm, that is definitely my that's like my super group, you know, like, and it's kind of just gonna be like old Mastodon worship, and that's my shit. Mastodon's probably my favorite band. So yeah, for as far as like living goes, and like in an immediate circle that is possible, that's it. But if we're talking like anyone on the planet, that's so difficult. I know it's touchy, and I know that he's not necessarily been the greatest human ever, but Phil Anselmo as a singer, like I know he's got a bad rap, and I don't always agree with everything he does and says, but
as a musician,
and everything he touches is like authentic to me. Like there's never been a single band that he's done where I'm like, that's not true and badass. So I would say him. I mean, it would be sick to play in a band with Dimebag, but like I would have to play bass at that point, because I don't think I would want to even try to out shred him. I would honestly probably just form Pantera again, honestly, and like just throw me in there, you know, like that's what I got off my head. And like that's sick. Throw Kerry King in there, and I'll just sell merch or something. Like, let me just watch the show. I don't even need to play.
I'll be the
Jeff
water
Hanneman.
boy off
Jeff
to the
Hanneman.
side. Like,
Hanneman.
Yeah.
I'll narrow it down to anything involving Jeff Hanneman, Phil Anselmo, Dimebag. I need a drummer and a bass player. Maybe like Calorie Cap's drummer. He's fucking so good. And then who for bass? And then fuck it, Griffin. All right, Griffin's like my favorite bass player, so Griffin for bass.
the go-to, major shout out to him for sure.
We'll have three guitars, Griffin on bass, Calorie Cap drummer, Phil Anselmo. There you go.
I don't think any of the crowds would survive a show like that.
It'd be a hot take right now for sure. That's just like the nostalgia dream, but I don't know. That'd just be some crazy musicians, you know. Those are all my idols.
Yeah. So now your metal origins and just guitar in general, I know as far as your parents have always been really involved since you were young, with you being involved in heavy music and going to shows, and then your dad runs T.W. Smith Guitars. So just kind of go into a little bit of your origins with all that, and how you kind of came into being a fan in bands, and where that continued.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of just destined to be like a metalhead, you know. But my mom was like pretty pregnant with me, like probably like I think 7 months-ish pregnant with me. Like her and my dad went to like an Ozzy show, and I thought that was just super cool that like, I don't know, I was literally like, my first show ever was in the womb at an Ozzy show, you know. And I just think that's really badass. And like my dad tells me this story about how when I was like 2 years old, he was blasting this band Fight. It's Rob Halford from Judas Priest's like early 90s, like small kind of band, like after he had left Judas Priest. But I still listen to them all the time. Like they're still one of my favorite bands. But he said like he had gotten their record, put it on like, you know, those big 90s like speakers that were massive, like 80s, 90s kind of sound systems, and said that I used to just like grip it and like headbang towards it. And like, I don't know, my parents just loved metal. They like older metal, new, like more current metal. They're super big into it. And like, it's super, like my dad is obviously like a metalhead. Like I'm pretty heavily tattooed, and he's got probably more than I do still. Like, he's hands done, it's
sick.
full arms, back, chest, legs, like him. But my mom is like this super tiny, quiet, like very, very pretty, dainty woman. And it's just really funny that like she gets in her car and puts Cannibal Corpse on, you know, like that's just kind of how like it was growing up. And it's kind of funny because now, like nowadays, I feel like I'm like metal was not underground to me. Metal to me was mainstream, you know, like my brain functioned in metal. And now the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, there's a lot of other stuff that's really cool that I think I missed out on because I was like only focused on metal, you know. But I mean, that's awesome. Like I love being part of the metal community. It's as much as I mean, my new thing is like I am so beyond obsessed with pop music. Like that's all I've been writing during this quarantine. Like that's my dream, is to break out into the pop world. But I don't think I would be the person I am today without the metal upbringing I had. You know, just like metal and hardcore. Just I it's more like that formed me as a person than like I kind of found it. You know, it was just like it molded me into who I am today, and I don't think that's ever going to change no matter what genre of music I'm in. Like I would love to be that dude who could write a top 40 song and then gets like a gig and still wears like a Chamber shirt on stage, you know, or like a Converge shirt, you know, like that's always been my dream, to be like the metal guy who can do all of it. And my metal origins were like the base of that, obviously.
So what you bring up pop music, like what type of influences or you know, what direction are you talking with going with something like that if you were to try, or when you're writing that stuff? I'm sorry, not try.
Oh, I mean like the most mainstream pop music. Like I think Taylor Swift as an artist is one of the coolest humans ever, and that's such like a not metal thing, but like I love it. I think it's crazy because all my life I thought that like pop music was like this world of rules, and that like metal was the like no fucking rules, you could do whatever you want. But the older I get, the more I'm like, pop music truly has no rules. Like I'm very active with whatever I listen to, and I analyze everything that I hear. And like for a top 40 song that's like, if you go on the Spotify playlist that is like worldwide top 50 hits, you can have a song that is just a piano for the first minute and a half, and then piano goes away completely, and horns come in, guitars, bongos, like literally any instrument you want can be in a pop song. And while I do think like, I mean, between the Buried and Me and like Opeth and Cynic and stuff, like they showed that you could do that stuff in metal, but it's when I really opened myself up to like other genres, I was like, wow, there's so much creativity that I'm not tapping into. And that's like really what draws me to pop music, is that you can be so beyond creative but have it still be this formula kind of structure and style, you know, like as long as you've got a sick singer and a hook to it, anything can be a hit, you know. And I ramble on it, but it just blows my mind, and I'm so mesmerized at pop music. And you can take so much from, like, I take pop hooks and put them in Acacia Strain songs. I think why the newest record, the Slow Decay record, the stuff that's been coming out has been so good, is because we really went like more simple with it, you know. Like it was the response, and I know I'm rambling, I apologize for that, but it was like It Comes in Waves was the art project, and then Slow Decay was the response to that. So I was like, let's just go simple. Let's make it simple song structures, just riffs that fucking hit. And I for what I wrote, I don't think I could have written that way if it wasn't for my love of pop music.
Yeah, as far as like when I was younger, I had, a sister and then a couple of brothers, and then my parents everybody was into different music. And so my sister was real into pop music and boy bands and Spice Girls. And so I would kind of hear some of that type of stuff and pick up on, being like understanding and, kind of having a little bit of a rapport as far as, some of the songs and some of the understanding with that stuff. And then my parents would be like into Boston and Pink Floyd, but then my brother would be in his room listening to Slayer, and that was always the thing that really drew me and kept me forever just like drooling over like, what is that? That's what I
Yeah.
want. So,
Yeah.
but
And
yeah,
I
it's
think
cool to have that understanding with different genres too, for sure.
yeah, and I think what like will I think for me too, and I think this goes back to like the fact that I was raised on metal. And like I don't view metal as like, or I don't view being a metal person as like just the music, you know? Like it's a culture
Mm,
more than anything. It's like
yeah.
a way of thinking and a lifestyle. Like metal and hardcore, they're one and the same for the most part. But
Hmm.
it's like that to me is more. Metal speaks more to me um on a personality level, whereas pop music lately has been speaking to me more on a creative level. Like metal is,
Okay.
I don't want to say it's easy for me because it's never easy, but it's natural for me. So it's like I don't have to I don't have to change my way of thought to write a metal song the way I have to like write another genre's music, you know?
So now, as far as with your writing, I'm kind of interested to see what the interaction was at first, because you came into the band and it was just,
Mhm.
I believe, just prior before It Comes in Waves, was writing and being creative, and
Mhm.
what was your initial reaction to where the guys tell you, hey, so the first album that you're going to be a part of is going to be nothing like the Acacia Strain. It's going to be
Dude,
completely
yeah,
different.
that was like a total mind fuck for me. So like I was filling in with the band before Grave Bloom was written, but I
Yeah.
wasn't an official member until right after that record was done. So like despite the fact that I was with those guys, I wasn't a contributor to it. Being told like we're gonna go weird, I was like, where do I fit in? Like I haven't written the normal Acacia Strain album. How do I do something
Yeah.
that like speaks to me as a fan of the band? Because I think first and foremost, like I will always be a fan of the band first. Um, but
Mhm.
it was such a vague idea too. Like it was Vincent's idea for It Comes in Waves that he just wanted to write something different. Like he didn't want us to just put out another standard fare like every 2 3 years put a record out. Like he wanted to do something that spoke to us as people more than us as just a band. And I think, I mean,
Mhm.
it was a nightmare for me to start writing that. Like I would send him stuff and like the whole band would be like, what are like we don't get what's going on, but it wasn't really something that you can convey. Like it was something that we all had to feel to understand like
Mhm.
everybody's kind of like role in it and everybody's just what we were doing with it. So at first, like I would just write songs that were very rooted in the Acacia Strain sound, but went a little in the more like Mastodon, Gojira, Opeth kind of vibe. And ISIS. ISIS was another band that I
Yeah.
really tried to take from. It was I think I said ISIS, Neurosis, and Mastodon were like the three that I wanted to just add to the Acacia Strain sound.
Mhm.
Um, and I would just send stuff to Vincent, and he would be like, "Yeah, like I like what you did here. This isn't really it. I don't fully get it." And after sending like 4 songs, I was like, I don't fucking know what he wants. Like I'm just gonna write. I'm gonna write Tom Smith music, and then if he likes it, and this is what his vision is, great. We'll use it for that. And if not, I'll fucking release it on my own. Like I don't know what else to do. So I just kind of hit a wall where I was like, I'm gonna do this. And the very first song that I had sent with that mindset was the first track on the album,
Oh.
Power. The
Uh-huh.
like with the whole noise intro and everything, like that was me just in my room, like the room I'm sitting in, like I wrote all the stuff for that, and I just had a bunch of guitar pedals and I was just fucking around and I figured out this rhythmic thing and I was like, all right, this is like electronic but made with pedals and guitars. Let's just go noisy. Like if I were to put this record on, the first thing I'd want to hear is chaos. So I wrote that song and I sent it to him and all he wrote back was this is exactly it. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to write what I write. And then like it was fully solidified where the next song I sent I think was the song was that was another one that I wrote completely,
Okay.
and that's my favorite song on the album. I'm like probably the most proud of that one. And I and then when he was like, yep, this is keep doing this, I was like, okay, then I'm just writing what I write, like without without thinking of the band, just write what I write on an 8-string guitar, pretty much. Like, as long as I had the tuning of the band, anything I wrote was going to come out the way that Vincent saw it happening. And it was like really difficult at first, but once I got over that hurdle, it was like the easiest thing I ever had to write. Like, it was just flowed out of me. It was really natural.
That's pretty sick too, because I mean the whole thing is so cohesive, you know, where it's presented as one track that just flows through the whole album, you know, the whole EP. That's sweet. I didn't realize, you know, I guess my understanding was more of like everybody kind of got together and you all, you know, collectively wrote, and that adds a whole different angle to where, I mean, you guys tied it together perfectly. That's awesome.
We knew that we wanted it to be like one big thing, but because it was like, because we're all spread out throughout the country and none of us live near each other, like, it didn't become feasible to be like, okay, let's start here and we'll end here. Like, it just doesn't, it's hard to work that way with three main people writing, like me, Griffin, and Devin, like doing all the instrumental writing. It's kind of hard to like share the same 30-minute like Logic or Pro Tools session where we're each writing on. Like, we could have done it that way, but it worked out better for us where we just wrote stuff and then picked it apart and saw how we could arrange it. And the arrangement of it is really all credit to Griffin, because he was like the dude who just would sit in the van with headphones on his MacBook and like took all of our demos and just put it together in an order, and was like, he would show it to me, be like, hey, what do you think of this? Like, a lot of this stuff is your like pieces and your songs. Like, are you cool with the way I'm cutting it to go in and out of each other? And me and him were kind of like the first two to do the arrangement. Like, he was the one who physically laid it out, but me and him kind of had the original like consulting of it. And then once the two of us were like, okay, I think this is where it should be, let's show it to the rest of the guys. And then it was like, then the rest of us would tweak it. And then, I mean, as far as like the actual recording of it, we were all together. Like, we did it on tour. Like, we met up a few days extra before the Knocked Loose tour, tracked drums with Kevin at Griffin's studio, and then me, Griffin, and Devin recorded all the guitars at Airbnbs, like with my MacBook and a Kemper and a DI box. And then once it was all done, we got it sent off to get mixed by Steve Side from Graphic Nature, who I used to work with. Mm-hmm. And it was just like a very hands-on thing. And it sounds like we wrote it all in one room, but it was very much scattered throughout the country and even arranged throughout Canada.
Wow. No, you know, one thing I can say, and this is, you know, particularly to this album, was I love streaming as far as music, but so much is lost in streaming as far as, you know, one week you have one release that comes out, and then all of a sudden next week 3 things come out and you're like, oh God, I absolutely love this stuff. And then the thing from last week, you just kind of, you know, lose. But the cool thing that I am seeing, you know, along with myself, with It Comes in Waves, is that stuck out so much and made such an impact with a lot of people, you know, a lot of your fans, you know, even some of the cats, to where every once in a while I see, you know, might not say the most positive things, so they're like, whoa, this is ripping, you know, that's where it's at. So
sorry, you froze up. Can you say that again? Yeah, hi.
Okay. No, I was just saying, as far as like, you know, with even some of the fans that, you know, may have been naysayers, it's one of those things where it's like that album has, you know, really stuck out. And, you know, still, even though you guys have Slow Decay coming out, there's still lots of ramblings as far as It Comes in Waves. So, you know, hats off to you guys.
Yeah, I think we opened up a lot of people who, I don't want to say had given up on us, because I don't think there's a single record in the band that like warrants giving up on a band. But I think because we've been around for so long, like, you've got people who kind of trickle in and out, like your tastes develop and change, and that's natural. I mean, I don't listen to half the stuff I listened to 10 years ago, you know? And I think It Comes in Waves was not necessarily like a fresh start, but it was just, here's a new side to us that a lot of people, I don't think, knew that we were capable of, first off. But then, so many people I had saw saying, like, I hated this band and now I love this record. And then it opens them up to the past catalog. And even if they don't, like, I mean, if the only thing that somebody likes from this band is It Comes in Waves, I'm so proud of that being what they like, you know? Like, I don't...
Right.
I'm equally as proud of Slow Decay, but in a different way. Like for me, Slow Decay was, this is me writing an Acacia Strain record. This is me being involved with this band. And like I felt like I had something to prove on the front of writing a traditional record. But with It Comes in Waves, that was me and 4 of my best friends on the planet pouring our personalities into something. And I think it's obvious. I still listen to it all the time, and I don't feel bad about that. Like I'm really proud of it, and I'm so happy that so many people understood what we were going with, because until the minute it was released, I was like having a panic attack over it, and just like everyone's gonna hate this. Like no one's gonna understand it, no one's gonna get it, you know. But it came out awesome, and people seemingly loved it. People who didn't like it, I get it. It's not a normal Acacia Strain record, but I think it couldn't have played out better in my mind than how it did.
Yeah, and as far as like me and my taste, I'm not super into doom. I don't throw that on from a day to day. But hearing that and hearing your guys' take on it, that opened up my eyes to like, okay, this is sick. Maybe I need to check out a couple more things and give it a little bit more opportunity. So I mean, that's kind of a cool thing as far as bands trying something a little bit different. But now with Slow Decay, one thing I guess I noticed just off the bat from when you guys started releasing these EPs was it felt like, as opposed to more of a lead or kind of dissonant sounds, direction that the band had for the last couple albums. And that's not a knock by any means, but it felt like it kind of went back to the first couple albums where it was more geared toward riffs. And I think that's something that's sticking out with people, where it's like, oh man, this is just like Riff City. I mean, and it's not, it's still cohesive. It's not something where it's like, between the buried to me, like, well, where did this part come from, and why are they playing jazz now? It is so sick. So, tell me what is your favorite track on the album? I know there's still 2 more that we haven't gotten yet, so we can't talk on those, but
one of those might be my favorite thing we've ever done, because it's different for us, but in a totally opposite way from It Comes in Waves. But I think my favorite song on there is Lucid Dream. That was one that I wrote. I wrote that one I think only a few weeks before we went in. I felt personally very unprepared going into that record, and I was kind of like freaking out, and I had only had I think before we went into the studio, I had Lucid Dream, China Master, and maybe one other song written that is on the record. There's still 4 other songs that we have, and we're gonna put them out, but they just weren't on the record. But I had Lucid Dream and China Master written, and then 3 other songs that didn't make the record.
Okay.
So Lucid Dream was like the first one. I mean, China Master was like, I knew I wanted to go kind of back to like the ode to like JFC, or an ode to Continent with that one. So that one, it was like, I think I wrote China Master in literally like an hour and a half, like just had the riff, had the idea, and just connected it. This is strictly speaking my experience with the record, because everybody else had we all had very different inspirations for what we were doing, but I saw Slow Decay as, this is going to be the traditional record. I am so sick of hearing people say that this band isn't good without DL. So I am going to try to channel that vibe. And not in like a I'm going to rip off DL way, but I like looked at Wormwood and Continent very objectively and went, what made this so special? And I noticed a lot of upbeat riffs that you don't even necessarily notice are upbeat because they're so heavy, and just big chords. Like I think for a lot of Grey Bloom and even Coma Witch, it's like very like riffy, like notey, and not as much chord based. And I was like, all right, let's go back to the chord. Like, let's make the chord be our thing. So for me, it was like, okay, I'm the new guy still in the band. I want to shut people up. Like, I straight up was like, I want to shut everyone the fuck up. So I'm going to take what I liked from these records and try to make it better, because I think we're a better physical band now than the band was then. But yeah, so for me, that was how that went. And I think it was when we got into the studio, because I felt so unprepared, I was like, I need this record to crush, like for my own ego. And that's fully me speaking on myself. No one else in the band probably had that feeling, but for me to step into a band that's been so important to me, and I know is so important to so many other people, I was like, I need to make this mean something, and I don't want it to be like a record that just gets lumped in with, oh, another Acacia Strain record. So I took all of those things that I noticed from the Dead Walk Continent and Wormwood, figured out how to apply them to me and put my spin on it, and then bringing it back to the pop music thing. I'm really big into super simple song structures, but complex parts. So a lot of the,
right.
I mean, almost every song is like a standard like verse chorus kind of structure, but it wasn't done as a cop out. It was done very intentionally to keep it cohesive and digestible while still being exciting. Because I think part of what makes those old Acacia Strain records so loved is that they're easy to digest because there's not a ton of parts. And while the band has moved more to like the doomy and atmospheric part, there's a lot that I think I still wanted to hear, and I know that a lot of people wanted to hear, of make this just hard hitting. And that was my personal take on just the writing of it. And I think because of that, Lucid Dream and Solace and Serenity are my two favorite that I wrote for the record, because they are like, I mean, I hated Solace and Serenity until the whole band was like, no, this is good. This is a good song. Because I named it Bone Dry originally because I thought it was just a shit, awful, dry song. But I was like, you know what? I mean, we're here, we're at the studio, I'm writing it. I'm just going to present it to everybody. And our producer, Randy, who I used to work with at Graphic Nature also, he was our producer on the record. Him and the whole band were like, no, we could tweak a couple parts, but this is a song. Like, let's keep Solace and Serenity. But Lucid Dream, from the very beginning, I was like, this song is sick. Like, I was just kind of trying to do like Cannibal Corpse meets Calorie Cap, but have it work for the Acacia Strain, you know? Like, just that death metal vibe, but have it be hard, you know?
Yeah. You know, and you brought up the whole thing with DL and everything, and obviously, you know, you have to love the stuff that he was involved with, and he was in the band for so long. But the people that say that, I have found, you know, even from the shows that I've been to, the people that say that and bring that up, I also watch, and I kind of pay attention in the crowd every once in a while, because it's like, okay, they're going to do a shout out to, you know, something from 3750 or the earlier albums. And I watch, and then all of a sudden you play like a real throwback, and they just fucking stand there. It's like,
dude, that's the thing.
Get out of here. I'm not trying to hear that bullshit.
Yeah, on the Knocked Loose tour, we played a bunch of stuff from 3750, and it's because people were begging us for it. And we were like, all right, you know what? This is a hardcore tour. Let's go old with it. This will be cool. And when we played those songs, people literally didn't even know what they were. And we were just like, why are we doing this? Like, but in contrast to that, that's why I think when we started playing Seeing God and Feed a Pigeon live, seeing people react that way to new stuff, I was like, holy shit, I think we might have something with this new stuff. And I mean, the only two songs that came out before that tour got canceled was Seeing God and Feed a Pigeon. And those, like, the second day of the tour, which was a day and a half after those songs came out, we were in Brooklyn playing Feed a Pigeon, and the It Feels Like Hell chant was going. The whole crowd was singing it. I was like, how is this possible? And Feed a Pigeon was another one that I wrote, so I was like, this is one of my songs, me personally. Like, I wrote this in a few hours, connecting with that many people. And it's, I don't know, I know I'm getting off track, and I have a tendency to ramble, but it was like a very special thing to see the contrast of like these old songs that didn't really do much that people constantly want to hear. This new song was so much better of a reaction, and it felt like an old song. Like when we started playing Seeing God, it felt like we were playing Shut It Down, you know? It was, I'm really, really excited to get out and play some of this new stuff, because I think it's connecting with people the way that we have wanted, or at least that I know I personally have wanted the band to connect with people in that way.
Yeah. You know, and I was going to mention too, as far as I saw you guys in Grand Rapids, And that was one of those things where I'm looking around and, like I mentioned, you guys playing older stuff, and I look around and nobody's really, doing a whole lot. And I'm like, I wonder how it's going to work if they're going to play new stuff. And Seeing God, you guys started playing that. People are singing. I'm like, what the fuck?
Dude.
Like, I don't even know these words. I've loved this band for years. Like, who is this kid?
Yeah. Dude, for real. Like,
props. That's awesome. That's a great thing to be able to, not necessarily reinvent yourself, but to have the band be together as long as it has, and then to have that popularity and that demand still. I love it. It makes me so happy to see. And I can only imagine it makes you guys happy too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Me and Griffin, I mean, I'm definitely the biggest Mastodon fan in the band. We all love Mastodon, but I worship Mastodon. And the whole time I was talking to Griffin, I was like, I just want this record to be our Emperor of Sand, because to me, that is, if I have one Mastodon record to show somebody, I show them Emperor of Sand. And even though it's the newest one, it has a piece of every stage of the band. And that's what I wanted with Slow Decay. And I think, and I was very mindful whenever it was like songs that I wrote to be like, okay, I took this style in this song. Let's see what I can do from another era of the band and put it with this new song. And I personally think that Slow Decay is our equivalent of a Emperor of Sand. Like, it's the greatest hits of the band. It's got a piece of every part of it thrown into it.
Oh, okay, sick. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely, like I say, I don't want to say reinventing yourself, because I mean, even Gravely, you guys didn't really get a whole lot of opportunity to tour with that, but that album is so sweet, and the guest spots from you got like Matt Honeycutt on it, and it's just that album is so sweet too. So I hope at some point you guys have something where you tour with a little bit more of that stuff, because there's so much gold on that album for people to see if they didn't get to hear through a live show. So so now Slow Decay just about hell yeah. Slow Decay just about being out. I got to ask, because I've seen some of the frustration. What were some of your favorite and some of your most irritating guesses for the album name?
Oh my God. Oh, dude. Another little ramble backstory. When we were ending that tour, we had a 24-hour notice. I promise this will answer your question, but we had a 24-hour notice pop-up Vegas show that the venue staff all worked for free. There was 150 kids in the middle of a pandemic with 24 hours notice, and that was huge to me. And I went, wow, we have the sickest fans on the planet. Like, I'm still, like, I get chills thinking about how in the middle of the whole country wanting to shut down, all these people came out just to help us get back to the East Coast. And I say that because while I had a new appreciation for our fan base and said that they were some of the greatest humans ever, seeing some of the guesses made me go, we might have a really dumb fan base also. And I say that only out of love and out of fun, but some of the guesses, man, were like, there were some people who genuinely thought we were calling the record Decaf. And I was like, why?
I love that. Yeah.
And as a coffee purist, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, all of us, all we do is drink coffee all day. Like, fuck off. If we're going to name it coffee, we're going to just name it coffee, But hands down, my least favorite guess, and I still get angry thinking about it, is we had not just one, like a lot of people thinking we were calling it Decade because Wormwood came out 10 years ago. And I was like, are you kidding me? You thought we put all of this work into a record to then promote an old one? Get out of here. Like, it still angers me, clearly, but that was for sure the most ridiculous. And I'm generally pretty nice when people like would be giving me guesses. I would just kind of like tiptoe around things or like make a joke. But when people asked me that, I was like, I would literally write back, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you don't, when that's the thing that you're approaching me about, I'm not going to be nice about that because that's ridiculous to me.
Right. Oh my God, that's so funny. I know. And
Yeah.
over and over, I would just read through some of the comments and in the band page, separate, your guys' separate pages, and just see some of the frustration as far as like, oh, I can only imagine. And then, it was
Yeah.
funny too with you being like a coffee fan, and you talk about it sometimes like the podcast or on your page or whatever. And then everybody's saying decaf, and I'm just like, man, that has to be irritating the piss out of him.
Yeah.
You have the couple of records that are out. You got the band. You also just recently started a podcast, which is the Riff Filled Land. Tell us a little bit about that. You've had some sick guests. I absolutely love listening to it, and all
Awesome.
the background stories to things. It's sweet to be able to take in. So how was it that you decided that you wanted to start one for yourself?
Well, first off, thank you for listening, and thank you for the kind words. I mean, I just love podcasts in general. Like I probably listen to more podcasts than I do music nowadays. But I really, really fell for podcasts when I moved down to North Carolina. Like the first 6 months, like I moved in with my then girlfriend, now fiance. She was really the only friend I had here, So like while she was at work and before I had a job, I was like just kind of sitting around and I didn't really have many people to talk with. So throughout the day, I would just throw a podcast on, because if I put the TV on in the background, I would get distracted watching The Office for the 6,000th time,
Yeah.
But yeah, so podcasts kind of just became my it sounds sad to say this, but podcasts became my friend, they were the thing that I would listen to while I would do stuff around the house and drive around trying to find new things around a new city. And I just really fell in love with the idea of just listening to people talk about things that they're passionate about. And I mean, most podcasts I listen to are true crime stuff, but you still have to have a passion for that to put the work into making a podcast, And I just really fell in love with people talking about general common interests. And the more I got into songwriting, which directly connects with It Comes in Waves and Slow Decay, I learned how much I loved the art of just writing from those records. More than I will take writing a song over playing a gig, generally. I just love creating something and having a finished product out of nothing. But yeah, so I was just like, you know what? I know so many people and so many good bands. Let's talk about it. Let's I basically wanted to create the podcast that I would have killed for as a 15-year-old. When I used to spend times searching YouTube interviews and reading Wikipedia pages of bands, I was like, if I was 15 to 18, where you're really kind of becoming a musician with whatever instrument you're on, I would have killed for hearing guys in my favorite bands, and more than anything, guys on a lower level. But you've got the Josta podcast that has Lamb of God and Slayer guys on it, but there's nobody for the smaller bands too.
Right.
And counterparts. Having Alex on was huge for me as a fan, but because I looked up to them as songwriters when I was a bit younger, and it was just if I could have heard Alex Ray talk about what fueled him to write songs, it might have inspired me. So the short answer is that I really just wanted to be able to inspire people or people struggling with writing songs, but the long answer is with podcasts, and I love the art of talking with somebody with a common interest.
Cool.
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things. When I was younger, as far as for instance, take Every Time I Die, shit happens. Having bands and having these road, especially because I was younger and didn't really know about the whole idea of tour and yeah, it might be cool, but just kind of living vicariously, if you will, as far as seeing some of the things and then seeing some of the inspirations to be oh yeah, that is what I want to do. That looks sweet, So it's cool. Now I'm just about 32. And being able to listen to it and actually hear different people's experiences, and oh yeah, this is a trick that I like to do, or while I'm in the studio, I I've done this and it seems to help, and it's sick hearing a lot of the behind the scenes, and your podcast is something else that I like to throw on and hear just the exact thing. So it's awesome, man.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. So unfortunately, I actually have to go to work. So I'm going to have to cut it off right here. If we can, cool. I'm going to reschedule a part 2 because we were going to talk horror. We were going to talk more Acacia Strain. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Another episode of Growing on You Live. Unfortunately, a little cut short. Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Tom Smith, the Acacia Strain. Check out their new records. Slow Decay coming out here soon. We are out of here. Tom, take care. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon, buddy.
Thank you very much, man. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-Fi Horror Guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.